By nature, we hate constraints. We hate being told what to do. We hate targets. We hate numbers. And above all, we hate deadlines. Real happiness, isn't it? The ability to do what we want, when we want, as often as we want. A total freedom, no pressure, no limits. And yet, work is the exact opposite of that. Work is, by definition, activity under constraint. Deadlines, budgets, clients, KPIs, expectation, limited resources. So here's the paradox. If we naturally resist constraints, if freedom is what we crave, on earth, could constraints possibly motivate a team? Not with a stick, not with fear, no. Not with some managerial sword of Damocles hanging above their heads. So the real question is this: can constraints become a driver of motivation instead of a source of frustration? Stay with me, because the answer is not what you think. Before we go further, if you like this video, please share and like it. This is the only way these blessed algorithms decide that I deserve a tiny bit of visibility. Do you know how to reduce the mess on your desk? Buy a very small desk. It sounds absurd. The idea of a small desk comes straight from Parkinson law. Work expands to fill the time available for its completion. The same applies to space. The more space you have, the more likely you are to fill it. With paper, with objects, chaos. And during my studies, I worked for a year as a waiter at the alumni restaurant of the ULB. Kitchen was barely 15 square meters, and sometimes we had to serve over 100 guests. Starter, main course, desserts. I still remember the small sign stuck to the fridge. Everything in its place, and a place for everything. That wasn't decoration. It was survival. Oh, yeah. Some contextual constraints are simply part of the job, and some can be challenged, some cannot. So constraints itself is not the enemy. What creates resistance is not constraint. It is constraints imposed without meaning, constraints perceived as unfair, constraint that feels arbitrary, constraint that is unclear. Because the truth is, all human performance depends on constraint. A musician without tempo is no longer playing music. A marathon without distance is not a race. An agile sprint without a fixed duration is not a sprint. Constraints gives shape, and shapes make action possible. What kills motivation is not the frame, it's the frame without purpose. When I work with teams, I often ask a simple question. If absolutely everything were possible, if you had no limits at all, what would you do? There's usually a brief moment of excitement and then silence, because total absence of constraint is not liberating, it's paralyzing. And neuroscience shows us that the brain loves clarity, it hates prolonged ambiguity. Permanent uncertainty consumes enormous cognitive energy. Clear and stable constraints reduce mental load. They allow our automatic system, fast, intuitive, to operate smoothly, and they free our reflective system to focus where it truly matters. In other words, a well-defined constraint doesn't restrict action. It channels it. So, how do you transform constraint to a motivational lever? First, make it explicit. A vague deadline creates anxiety. A clear deadline creates mobilization. Second, connect the constraint to meaning. Deliver by Friday is not motivating, but the client launches on Monday and depends entirely on us. That changes everything. Third, co-construct the constraints when possible. When the team participates in defining the sprint length, the definition of done, the collaboration rules, the constraints becomes a commitment. And a chosen commitment mobilizes far more than an imposed obligation. In the systemic motivation model I've been developing for over 10 years already, constraint is not a pressure tool. It's a structural element of the system. A system without constraints becomes chaotic. A system with too many constraints becomes rigid. The key is balance. You don't motivate with fear. You mobilize with a clear frame, shared meaning, an appropriate level of challenge. At that point, constraints becomes a playing field, just like that teeny kitchen at the ULB. It wasn't comfortable, but it was intensely alive, because the frame was clear, the mission was visible, and everyone knew their place. So next time someone says, "We're too constrained," don't immediately try to remove the constraints. Ask instead, is it understood? Is it fair? Is it connected to meaning? Is it shared? Because real freedom at work is not the absence of constraints. It is the ability to act fully within a frame you understand and accept. And that changes everything. I wish you a reasonably constraining week. See you soon. And don't forget, boost the system.
Clock punch, soul punch, gonna make my own lunch. This ain't my final destination. Just another step in my transformation. To my jump, can't think.